Now, let's do this little exercise where we'll be following our client Sue around the city and see, okay, what's considered commuting mileage that's not deductible and what's considered business mileage that is deductible. So as we go through the whole city with Sue, we will have to determine, okay, is it not deductible or is it deductible? And we start off at Sue's home. And you'll notice that for Sue, her home doesn't have a home office. She doesn't work from home at all. That she actually has an office at another location that she does most of her work at. So it's early in the morning. Sue is ready to get to the office, and from her home to the office, is this commuting mileage, which is not deductible, or is it business mileage, which is deductible? And if you said it is commuting mileage, which is not deductible, then you are right. And that's because it's coming from something that's personal to business, which is considered commuting mileage. So Sue's working at the office for a couple hours, then she realizes that, oh, I have to mail these things off, these mailers, to a client. So she drives to the post office. Is this commuting mileage or business mileage? And if you said business miles, you are correct, because the client, Sue, is coming from her office and she's driving to the post office mainly to do client-related work, which is work-related. So because it was work-related, we can say that the office is work-related and the post office is work-related, so that's considered business mileage. So Sue's at the post office and she's done mailing everything that she needs to mail out. And because she knows that she has another client kind of close by, she wants to go meet up with that client at that client's office. So she calls up the client and says, hey, let's meet up. I got something to talk to you about regarding your business. So she drives to client number one's office. Is this going to be commuting mileage or business mileage? And if you said business mileage, you are correct, because it's coming from the post office where she was doing business related things to meeting with a client, which is also business related. So that's considered business mileage, which is deductible. So Sue's meeting with client number one at the office, and after about an hour, the meeting is done and Sue says, okay, I need a little energy booster. So she wants to go to her favorite coffee shop that's across town and eat a little lunch there as well. So she's thinking, I'm gonna drive to this coffee shop and this is where I'm gonna check email and do some work things on my phone while I have my lunch. So is her drive from client number one's office to the cafe, is that considered business mileage or considered commuting mileage? Now, if you say this is commuting mileage or personal mileage, which is not deductible, then you are correct, because she's going from a place of business, which is her client's number one office, to something that's personal, which is lunch, having coffee. So just because she goes to the coffee shop and is able to check her email and do some work on her phone, the IRS still thinks that the lunch and the coffee is personal in nature, because she doesn't have to be at that coffee shop to answer emails and to do her work on her phone. She could actually be at the office if she wanted to. So it wasn't necessary for her to be at the coffee shop to do work. She only mainly went to the coffee shop because it was a personal choice of hers, because she wanted to get her cup of espresso and she wanted to eat lunch at that coffee shop. So now Sue's done eating her lunch and drank her coffee. Now she's just going to drive back to the office. Is her drive from the coffee shop to the office considered personal mileage, which is commuting mileage and not deductible, or considered business mileage? If you said it was personal mileage or commuting mileage, then you are correct, because it's coming from something that's personal in nature, which was her eating lunch, to something that's business, which is the office. But because it's not business to business, this is considered commuting or personal mileage, which is not deductible. Now, Sue's working in her office for a couple hours, but all of a sudden an emergency client meeting happened way across town. So now she has to drive all the way to client number two's office. Will this drive be deductible or not deductible? And if you said deductible, you are correct, because it's coming from her office to her client's office, which is obviously business to business. So she's at the client's office and the meeting is running a lot longer than she expected. It's actually running into the evening time. So as 6 o'clock approaches, she actually tells the client, says, hey, you know what? We can actually continue our discussion over dinner. How about we go to this restaurant that I really think you'll like, and we could discuss further about whatever business transaction that they're talking about. So from client's number two's office, she's driving to the restaurant to continue their conversation about business. Is this personal or business? And if you said business, you are correct because she's going from a work location, which is client number two's office, to another work-related event, which is dinner with the client itself, talking about business. And the whole point for the business meal was to continue talking about business. So it makes it totally business related. So because of that, the whole thing is considered business mileage deductible. So the client and her part ways, and she's on her way home. It's her drive from the restaurant, which was business related, to her home going to be personal or business? And if you said personal, you are right because it's going from business to personal. She doesn't have a home office, and you'll see how having a home office changes things. So Susan home, just relaxing, and she just decides to check her email. But she gets a big surprise, and this surprise is from one of her biggest clients that's asking her the next day to go to a location that they have that she needs to manage real quick because there's some kind of emergency going on. So now the next day, she cancels all her plans, all her meetings that she normally had, and she has to drive to this location, which is off-site, and it's not in the vicinity that she normally works at. It's actually way outside the city that she lives in. So in the morning, she's going to prep herself to get ready for this big trip to go to this offsite that she has to drive to. Is the drive from her home to the offsite considered business mileage or commuting mileage? And if you said business mileage, you are correct because there is a special rule just for temporary offsite locations where even if you don't have a home office, but you're driving from home to the temporary offsite, that's considered deductible mileage. And remember, this is just a special rule only for temporary offsite locations. And usually the temporary offsite has to be less than a year. So for example, in Sue's case, she was assigned to this temporary offsite for a whole week. So every day for a whole week, she had to drive to this offsite location. And every time she drives there from her home and every time she drives back home, all of that is considered business mileage that is deductible. Now, a whole week has gone by and she's been at this offsite every single day. And now everything is done and clear with the offsite. She doesn't need to go to it anymore. But because she hasn't talked to client number two in a while, the next day she decides to say, hey, I'm gonna go visit client number two the first thing in the morning after her big project. So in the morning, she leaves the house to go directly straight to client number two's office. Is this considered business mileage or commuting mileage? And if you said business mileage, you are wrong. It's because it's still considered commuting mileage because it's still going from personal to business related. And the client number two's office is not considered an offsite. It's still in the vicinity of her regular place of business. So because of that, it's considered commuting mileage. Now let's switch things around and we're going to use Ben as an example. And Ben actually has a home office that he works out of, but he also has a regular office that he goes to. So let's say for this example, the home office is where he does all the admin stuff, and the office that he goes to, let's say he's a real estate agent. The office is mainly just to meet with clients and showcase homes and just do things that are client facing. So let's say when he has a home office and he drives to the regular office to meet with clients, is that considered business mileage or commuting mileage? And if you said business mileage, you are correct because having a home office changes everything. With a home office, this is not considered a business location. And when you go from one business location to another business location, that's considered business mileage. Now, Ben's at the office and he also realizes he needs to mail stuff out to clients, like he needs to mail those flyers out. So he goes to the post office to do all these mailers that he needs to do to send out to potential new clients. Is this business miles or commuting mileage? And as I'm sure you got correct, this is going to be business mileage because he's going from a place of business to another place of business. So I'm sure you get the idea now. I've been talking so much about this. Going from one business location to another business location is considered business mileage that is fully deductible. The big difference here is that having a home office opens the doors to so many more miles that you normally can't deduct if you didn't have a home office. So for example, if you have a home office and you need to go to the post office to do business stuff, well, that's deductible. If you need to go meet with a client at a restaurant and you're coming from your home because you have a home office, that's deductible. All these are considered business mileage now. So this is a great visual right here to share with clients so they get the idea of, one, what's considered deductible mileage versus commuting mileage, which is not deductible. And then the second one is, okay, how does having a home office actually open the doors to so many more miles that they could deduct?